Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 144. In this show, where I review all the comics I reviewed this week in one show, or all the comic books I bought this week in one show. So let's get started. I go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week and everything in between. I have 21 books this week, so it's kind of average week for me. So let's get started. What was worst pick of the week? And that was one of them dropped. Yay! All right. And that was Star Wars issue 18. Disappointed to see Star Wars is slow, but I haven't really liked this whole jailbreak arc so far, mostly probably because of the artwork. Very dark for me and red, and it's hard for me to actually get into the story with that. Now, one part I did like is towards the end where we have Princess Leia trying to figure out what this person, this person that's been hunting them, and he says, he's trying to teach you something, the way you once taught him. So I'm curious of why this villain's connected to Princess Leia, and that might make some things interesting for the next issue. But yeah, a lot of it is just running around, doing blasters in this issue, and it's hard to enjoy that action because of the dark artwork. There was a fun scene in the beginning with Luke and Han, but I don't know if it really made this issue for me, and again, the plot hasn't impressed me for this arc. So Star Wars issue 18 gets 2 stars, and mostly again for the artwork really dragging that one down for me personally. So moving on to number 20, and that is Red Agent issue 4. Another series that, I expected a little bit more from. Artwork is pretty generic, and it's more the whole secret agent thing with Brittany, and I like the aspect of Brittany being a werewolf, and they do show that in this issue a little, and that's definitely the best part, where you get to see some werewolf action. But the actual mystery and the actual secret agent part, I haven't liked. Maybe because the adventure is not really grabbing me, but I haven't been totally impressed with this miniseries, so I gave this 2.5 stars, and now it's number 20. Moving on to number 19, which is Black Canary issue 11. This is another series. It's just one of those things I haven't been able to get into. It's not a bad issue. It's just the art, it's not really my thing. Even though the colors look interesting, it's just leading up to this end of an arc I haven't loved. Bringing the band back together, his whole mother story arc of the mother's past, and then bringing in the aunt. And then by the end, there is a big cliffhanger of Dinah being stabbed, but I think we all know she's gonna survive because she's gonna be in DC Rebirth. But yeah, it just isn't my thing. That's the best way to put it. It was an okay issue, but I personally couldn't recommend it because it's more of all the things that have been happening in this series coming to a head, and that portion of the story I haven't found that much enjoyment for. So Black Canary issue 11 gets 2.5 stars for me. Now it's I want to say it was number 19. So let's go to number 18, which is a series I usually do an in-depth review for, but my pick of the week kind of knocked that off, so it ended up just becoming an exclusive review for this show, and that is Amazing Spider-Man issue 11. Now, next issue finally starts a new arc, but this is the end of the Zodiac story, and it's pretty much Peter making the Scorpion, Scorpio, I'm sorry, and they make a joke that Scorpion is so close to his name, but, in this issue, but we see Scorpio is thrown into this dimension where he goes into the future for a year. So, yeah, we're gonna see this character again, but, it was nice that finally this whole Zodiac story's over. I did not like it at all. And it just feels really corny, and this issue is really corny too. There are some jokes I enjoyed, like I said, the whole Scorpion joke was fun. And then in the end, there was a really generic, oh, Dr. Octopus, remember me type scene saying, I'm still here. Anna Marie, are you okay? So even though it's like, oh, cool, Dr. Octopus is back, so, oh, wait, we've seen this, every issue already, so it's not that much of a surprise. So I gave it 2.5 stars. I like the bright coloring. Artwork, for the superhero scenes are really well done. Don't love the facial features for Peter. Too much line work. It makes him look a lot older. I want to try to find a picture of Peter here. I think it's more towards the beginning. But anyways, if I can, yeah, over here, it makes him look a lot older than he actually is, some of the line work there. So yeah, I gave Amazing Spider-Man issue 11 2.5 stars, and that's number 18. So we're up to number 17. A book I think you're gonna be surprised is so low, and that is Batgirl issue 51. This issue, it's a 2-issue arc for the end of the whole Burnside Batgirl series. And it's very much a filler story. It's a Gotham Academy tie-in, and it's Batgirl kind of randomly deciding, I don't want to be Batgirl anymore, or, like, I'm not good enough to be Batgirl, like, what happened to my skills? Which is weird, because last issue, it was Barbara being ready to be Batgirl again and getting this new layer, and they do nothing with that in this issue. It feels like these 2 issues should have been released before issue 50. And also the artwork is very inconsistent. There's about 3 artists on this book. And there's like a middle art with Batwing where there's way too many lines, not a lot of detail there. Stephanie's facial features look very different with the first artist over there, if you can see that. And then we have the middle art, which is, you know, plain, but it was pretty good, the middle art. And it worked for Barbara, so that was important because this is her book. I did like with Stephanie, though, they had her on the Batgirl cycle, so it just, like, kind of, you know, implying she was Batgirl. And then they make a Batman-Robin reference, and it's saying, oh yeah, Bluebird's like Batman, and Stephanie's like Robin. Maybe a reference that she was Robin. This is totally might be in my mind, because I love Stephanie, as you guys know. But yeah, I'm gonna say that's canon, right? They're showing that, implying, making references that, spoiler, was Batgirl and Robin in the past. But yeah, again, throughout the issue, though, even though I enjoyed the Gotham Academy maps interaction with Batgirl, it still feels out of place for this last arc, and it really out of character with this whole Batgirl, I don't want to be Batgirl anymore, because it kind of came out of left field for me. So Batgirl issue 51 gets 2.5 stars, and that is number 17. So now we're moving on to number 16, which is Deathstroke, issue 17. This was an improvement of the series. I mean, obviously it's not a huge improvement, but we get to see Jericho and Rose again, which was cool. I still think Rose is pretty out of character, but it was because she's under, like, mind control, but whatever. But it was cool to see Jericho in the end. There's a lot of mind manipulation in this issue, which kind of got weird too, because Jason Todd kind of randomly sees Batman in this issue. The artwork is pretty muddy still, but it's not, you know, horrible. It's more of the coloring that's very muddy. But yeah, you know, it's an improvement to see the children again, to see his kids again. I like that. The villain was okay, so I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a little bit of an improvement, but still, you know, not my favorite series in the world. That was number 16. Moving on to number 15, which is Justice League issue 49. You know, this series, I think would be, well, this issue would have been a lot higher if Darkseid War wasn't dragging so much. I think this story, I mean, we're up to part 9 already. Even if things happen, it doesn't really feel like things are happening. You know, we see Steve Trevor, which we already knew if you read the one-shot. He has this, like, mystical powers, and Wonder Woman shocked. We see Superwoman's baby finally being born and somehow being connected to all this mess. And that's mostly the issue. Everything else is fighting and seeing who dies and who doesn't. And there's just, like, kind of a random character that dies. So, yeah, I gave this 3 stars. You know, it's still, you know, a good issue. It's up to you guys if you want to pick it up, but it's good artwork. It's just kind of, I'm fatigued with Darkseid War, so that's why these things don't mean as much, because I've been reading, you know, this since issue 40 9 months ago. More than 9 months ago, because it's been delayed, this book, too. So, Justice League issue 49, for me, gets 3 stars. That's number 15. Moving on to number 14, which is Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, Part 4, Book 4, which was pretty good. You know, I'm not going to say Dark Knight is my favorite universe of all, but it was fun to see, but to see Superman die, you know, that we get to see that in this issue in a pretty epic moment, and Batman just being able to watch. He doesn't really do anything. So I thought that was an interesting interaction, and there's some interesting I guess, pawn set in this issue. It's more of a setting, I think, story, again, for this issue. Wonder Woman not liking Batman because of things that happen, feeling like it's Batman's fault. because he wasn't able to save Superman. We get to see the Flash in this issue. We see the graduation of Kara Kelly, so we don't know what suit she's going to get, but maybe it'll be like a Batman-related suit, especially since we saw that in the beginning of the Master Race for like issue 1 or issue 2, whatever it was. So yeah, overall, it was a pretty good issue, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 13, which is, to say the whole title, Avengers Standoff, Assault on Pleasant Hill, Omega, issue 1. That is an extremely long title. But, you know, I will say most of this issue is a fighting issue. It's the Avengers versus the people of Pleasant Hill, who are villains that we found out, like, in the Alpha issue. And the big things that happen here is that Maria Hill is fired from S.H.I.E.L.D., but still, like, the head as a figurehead and not really able to do anything. So we'll see where that goes. Steve Rogers gets to see where Rick Jones has been this whole time. He's been in the ground and says, hey, you can join me. And also, we see the new Kazar, who that character is, and she's the one who's doing the monologue throughout the whole issue. I'm interested in this new Kazar character because I really don't know much about Kazar, so it'll be interesting to see the mentor, who's the original Kazar, be able to train this new character and hopefully learn more about her, because we didn't really get to see that much this issue, and I don't really know this character at all. But also we get to see in the end, Red Skull is back, so if you're a big Captain America fan, that's going to mean a lot. Hydra is back here, so yeah, you know, I thought it was a good issue. Again, it's a bit expensive issue. It's like $5 for what you're getting. But, you know, there's some interesting progression. I'm not a huge Captain America fan, so that's why it's not, like, skyrocket high. But, you know, there's some interesting movements of the plot that happen here. And I'll probably pick up the new Captain America Steve Rogers book to see where that goes. And at least when that comes out. That comes out, they don't actually give you a date. They're just like, hey, oh no, coming in May. Never mind, they're all coming in May. So it comes out next month, the new Steve Rogers book. So I'll probably give that a try, because I'm sure the Standoff stuff are going to continue in there, like they say in the back. It's going to continue in Thunderbolts, it's going to continue in the Free Comic Book Day book, and also Sam Wilson. Which I keep saying this book was mismarketed, because this was a Captain America book. It was a Captain America story. And it's kind of relevant because it's all continuing in the Captain America books for May. So yeah, as someone that doesn't love Captain America, I still found some interest in the story, and I thought this was the best part of Standoff. I'm not saying this is like the best arc ever. I think there was a lot of filler tie-ins here, but if you want to at least pick up the last issue and see what happened, go ahead. I think it's worth just picking up this issue, and probably the Alpha issue is all you need to really read to get the whole story. So I gave that 3.5 stars. Moving on, I think we're up to number 12. Number 12 is Patsy Walker, Hellcat issue 5. Which, it's a little lower because I didn't love the whole Enchantress wannabe character, but I liked what came out of it, where we get to see Patsy have even more people to join her temp agency, and it was more, and the cover's a little misleading because it's like, oh, Hellcat versus Hetty, they don't even, like, see each other. It's more Jen versus Hetty in this issue, because Jen is trying to protect Hellcat, or, you know, Patsy is saying, no, she would be here if she could be. And then she finds out where Hellcat has been, and we have Ian, Tom, and Jen go to Hellcat and try to save her. We get to see a little Hellcat action. That's one disappointment of the series, that we don't actually see Hellcat fight that much in this series. She just kind of talks a lot, which is not a bad thing, but I do want to see more of the Hellcat action in this series. And then in the end, we see that Hetty, for some reason, just really jealous of Patsy and wants to know what's up with her. And Patsy does get an official door in the closet that she was sleeping in Jen's building, so I thought that was pretty funny. And we get to see the tattoo again, which is weird that she gets a tattoo of herself, but sure, fine. But yeah, in the end, we get to see Hetty hires Jessica Jones in the end of the issue, which is not a spoiler because they actually spoiled that in the end of the issue. And I kind of liked how they did it. Like, you think the whole tattoo thing is going to be the end, and there's like, wait, no, there actually is more? Oh, we have 2 more pages? Okay, let's bring in Jessica Jones. And, you know, I like Hetty as a character. I think it's a little inconsistent of what we've seen of Hetty. I mean, that was like probably 20 years ago, 15 years ago, so I guess, you know, people won't remember as much. But Hetty was okay with Patsy. Hetty knew that Patsy was Hellcat in the 2000 miniseries. Back in the 2000, I think it came out like 2001, early 2000s. So I would like that Hetty knows that she's Hellcat, but I'm sure she's going to find out with Jessica Jones. But I'm excited for Jessica to be in the series, and then utilizing the whole alias thing. Going back to the things that don't fit in continuity is that Jessica's back in Alias. Maybe they could fix or work that in with Power Man and Iron Fist that she's currently in. I would love just to see Alias series again in general, because that's a great series, and Jessica Jones in general should have more comic time, panel time. But yeah, I like the issue. Again, some of the Enchantress stuff or the Enchantress wannabe stuff was a little weird, but I liked the things that came out of it, and it was a fun issue to read. So Hellcat issue 5 gets 3.5 stars. That's number 12. Number 11 is Spidey, issue 5. Now, this issue would be a lot higher if it wasn't for the really, really plain artwork in this series. It just feels way too plain to me. I can show you a couple of pages here. Here's another, like, just him as Peter also, just really, really plain, like, this kind of blocky artwork here. So I wish the artwork was a little bit more detailed, but the story was a lot of fun. It's just our really fun modern Green Goblin versus Spider-Man story that we've seen 1,000 times but played differently, because we see in the end Green Goblin and Peter meet each other as Norman and Peter, because Peter's helping out Harry in tutoring, and then they think, wait, he has a broken arm, wait, he has a broken leg, or, you know, he's limping. Could it be? And they're like, nah, totally not, you know, Green Goblin's this, no, Spider-Man's this. So I thought that was a lot of fun, and if you enjoy the Green Goblin Spider-Man relationship, it's a really fun issue. Again, artwork does bring it down a little, but it's still worth picking up. I give it 3.5 stars. Alright, so we're moving on to number 10, which is International Iron Man, issue 2, which is a lot lower than issue 1 was. But honestly, this is a really cool week. A lot of good comics came out this week, so that's why it's a bit lower. But with International Iron Man, you still have this weird haircut Tony, who doesn't really look like Tony that much from the past, but still really like that story, because we see that his girlfriend, I guess we could call it, mother at that time, we find out her background, that she didn't have a family, she was living on the streets, and that's how she knows how to protect herself, and that she does have this past, so I thought that was cool. But also, we see Tony's father, who, you know, now we know isn't his father, pull him out of school and say, why would you work with these people, they're putting you in danger. Then we go to the present, where we actually see his past girlfriend wanting to defeat Tony, and she ends up running away. That's kind of the end of the issue. Now, I will say, I think the issue kind of falls off by the end, but I really like the flashbacks, learning more about his girlfriend's family, learning more about that character. And that's what I loved about issue 1, was learning more about her flashbacks and then seeing her in the present with that cliffhanger. And hopefully we get to see, you know, learn more about her in the present too, and making that character interesting with the present story and not just the past. The artwork's a little bit dark, I will give it that, but I think it works for this series, and I give International Iron Man issue 2 4 stars. I thought it was a solid issue. So that's number 10, and we're moving on to number 9, which is X-Men, Worst X-Men Ever, issue 3. This is such a fun series. I can't get enough of it. Where in this issue we see our main character is trying to figure out, you know, Bailey, he's trying to figure out, do I, like, betray the X-Men? Do I not? And there's a lot of signs that I should not betray the X-Men. And he meets up with a new friend who joins the Xavier Institute, who's too powerful to do anything, and he's, I guess, too powerful to do anything also, so they kind of relate to each other on that level, and it seems they like each other. They want to be friends, and by the end, though, you know, it still seems like he really can't do much. He's still down on the dumps fairly, and he's kidnapped by the Brotherhood. So that's the end of the issue. I love that this series just kind of makes fun of the X-Men mythology in a lot of ways. I mean, with Wolverine referencing Kitty Pryde or, you know, Jean Grey. Even the whole blackboard in the back is just, like, making fun of how many names X-Men have had in the past. Like Uncanny, Ultimate, no, wait, you know, Astonishing. So I enjoyed that. It's just a really fun, original series, and, you know, I keep saying with the current X-Men titles, which I'm still saying, they kind of feel generic. It's been done before. All the X-Men titles are out besides Wolverine. Just kind of feel generic to me. So to have this mini-series be a breath of fresh air and different, I give this 4 stars. I thought it was a really solid issue and a really entertaining series in general. And every issue keeps surprising me. And I can't wait to see what happens in the next 2 issues. So now we're moving on to number 8, which is Super Zero issue 5. Another series that surprised me. Because I didn't love, like, issue 2 or 3 because I didn't think Drew was very likable. But now, even though she's not likable, she's getting herself in all these crazy situations. She's in space. And this whole time you're thinking, alright, she wants to get powers. She's kind of nuts. Like, she's definitely on that line of going crazy. And, you know, she has a really supportive friends. She has a supportive principal. She has a supportive family. She even has just supportive people around her. So doing these crazy things make it even crazier, because, like, why do you want to run away from your life so much? And she goes to space and gets away with it. But, you know, the weird part is you're reading a comic that you're thinking is just totally realistic. You think it's, alright, it's in our world. It's not going to bring in aliens. It's not going to bring in superpowers. But by the end of the issue, they're bringing in aliens. So you're like, oh, wait, what world does Drew live in? Does she actually live in a world where superpowers can exist? Or, you know, these super elements can exist. Fantasy can exist. And that's the interesting part of this issue. So I gave this 4 stars, and I really do think Super Zero is a very under-the-radar series that more people should be picking up because it's very different in an original title. So I gave that 4 stars. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 7, which is actually all new Wolverine issue 7, which was, you know, it's a filler issue, but it's a fun filler issue, because you have Squirrel Girl, who's a character I personally usually don't like too much, but she brings a Wolverine to Wolverine's house, because she expects Laura to talk to Wolverines, and at that moment I'm like, alright, this is gonna be fun. And Gabby wants to keep the Wolverine. She's like, oh, can I keep it? And it's also this fight between Laura and Gabby wants to stay with Laura, and Laura's like, no, we're going to just find you a good family, we're going to find you a nice family. And, you see that, and the rest of the issue is finding out that, you know, one of the cars she crashes goes into a tree where squirrels lived, and Laura's like, oh, alright, I'm going out, Gabby, you stay here, and I gotta figure out this whole squirrel situation. So she has to find the father of the squirrel family, and she does, and, you know, happily ever after. And then after this event, you know, a really great opening with this issue is having Laura remember her relationship with Logan, and Logan saying, no, you stay in the mansion, that's where you deserve to be. I want you to have a better life than I had. And then you're seeing Laura just being really down in the dumps and wanting to be with, you know, her father. So we get to see that scene, and she keeps remembering it throughout the issue, because obviously there's a parallel between her and Gabby's situation going on. By the end of the issue, we see Laura realize, wait, I'm doing the same exact thing that Logan did to me. I need Gabby to live with me. And she does, and I guess they have a pet Wolverine now. And who knew it would be, out of all people, Squirrel Girl giving Laura this information and allowing her to understand that this relationship between Laura and Gabby is important. So even though it's not, you know, a big story, it's a very well done character-driven story, which Tom Taylor does amazingly in all his comics. So I gave it 4 stars. The artwork is a little blocky at times. You know, doesn't seem like completely rendered. It seems a little blurry at times, even though the first opening page is great. I love the flashback pages, but the present story, you know, there's times where it was just zoomed out and there wasn't a lot of lines. It was just kind of a blotch of paint or a blotch of color. I want to see if I can find an example of that. Like over here, like Laura's foot is just like a random square over there. So I think there could have been a lot more detail for the art, but still a great book. 4 stars from me, and definitely read this. It's a filler issue, but a really fun filler issue. So that was number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Batman issue 51, which is the last issue for Scott Snyder and Capullo's run, and it's just a love letter to Gotham. And you know, it's kind of this mellow issue, and that's the fun part. It's not, you know, the Joker and Batman fighting where you would expect, you know, Scott Snyder and Capullo to end their run on, you know, this big epic battle. But it's just a silent issue of no crime in Gotham. You know, the power goes out and Batman's like, oh, of course, means this, and that. But it was just a natural occurrence. It was no villain trying to attack Gotham. And the narration actually has to do with this newspaper article that happens like on, you know, a newspaper column, where it's like Gotham is. And then in the end, Gotham is Batman. And my favorite part of the issue, though, is Alfred and Bruce's relationship and that opening. Where Alfred sees Bruce's back with no scars, is like, wait, no. I need to see this. I need give me a minute, you know? And I love their relationship, and I think that's what Scott Snyder has done the best. I think the most touching scenes with his run was always between Alfred and Bruce, and it was such a nice scene. It was only like, you know, it was only a page or two, but it was a very nice scene. So I gave Batman issue 51 4 stars, and that was number 6. Moving on to number 5, which for me was Spider-Woman issue 6. I like this story. What I found a lot of entertainment with was finding out who the Earth 65 version of Jessica was, which was actually a guy. It was Jesse. And then her finding common ground with the wife and figuring out a way to find that common ground, and actually was connected to their children. You know, because this wife had children, obviously Jessica has her child, and she's like, I just want to get back to my child, so let me just figure this out. Now, the end is where this issue kind of falls apart a little, where they go back to Earth 616, and Gwen goes with them for some reason, even though she lives in Earth 65, and then Jessica's like, hey, you know, the stuff that probably happened here, you guys go on patrol, I'm gonna go see my kid. I thought that was just like a random way to say, hey, I'm going somewhere else, you and Cindy and Gwen are gonna have to be alone in the next issue. It's Jessica, I guess, won't be in the next issue, or she's gonna be doing her own thing. So, I thought that was kind of a weird ending. But overall, I did like the story, and there's some really cool panels, again, between the wife, between Jessica. You know, they make a comment about breastfeeding, which I thought was cool, especially for a book that is about motherhood, which is a big thing for Spider-Woman in this current series. It was cool that Reed Richards made a portal out of Legos. I thought that was cool. And Joella Jones' artwork is a cool fit for this book, even though I am used to the other artist, Rodriguez, who normally does the book. But it was understandable why they got a replacement artist for the crossover. So I gave that 4 stars, and that was number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Daredevil issue 6. Now, this is a book I actually dropped, but I picked up digitally this week because there's Elektra returning. I wanted to see what that was going to be about. And I was pleasantly surprised by this issue, because the big problem I had with Daredevil issue 1, first of all, the artwork was a bit too dark, and here they lightened it up a bit, at least in the Daredevil scene, so I appreciated that. Even though it's like still super dark, it's a little lighter, that you can actually see what's going on and enjoy what's going on. So again, appreciated that. But what I liked, one thing I disliked a lot in like the first issue is that we find out that Matt just reverses his canon, just retcons everything. That only person that knows about his identity is Foggy. And people are going to find out still. I don't know about the whole world, but people are going to find out. but not even Elektra knows. Kristen doesn't know, and that doesn't really make sense to me. Why does he have to take the secret away from people who've known for years, for decades? But what I liked about this issue is they play with that. You know, it seems like Elektra remembers something, and Daredevil thinks, oh shit, she remembers I took away her memory of Matt and Daredevil being the same person. But then you find out that Matt has like taken, or, you know, something about Elektra's daughter, and I'm like, oh wow, there's a bigger shock. I didn't see that coming. Now I hope they still play with the identity thing in the next issue, but I thought it was a really well done issue with Elektra and Matt's relationship in this, and also, you know, playing with an idea that I didn't originally like with this whole new Daredevil series, and making it interesting. So I gave Daredevil issue 6 4 stars, and that was number 4. So moving on to number 3, which is Outcast issue 18. So with this book, I think I'm going to probably get printed now, because it really has impressed me a lot, and there was a long time where this series lagged, but I really like a lot of the character moments in this issue. We see Mark still trying to figure out a little bit more about his outcast abilities, tells the priest about his daughter maybe inheriting this and has nothing to do with God. He thinks it just has to do with genetics, and then also there's a couple breaking moments in this issue where you see Megan trying to figure out what to do with her husband. Her husband can't walk anymore. How to maybe move the bed downstairs, and the husband trying to wrap his mind around saying, this, you know, my wife I love, but there's this monster inside of her, and I don't know what to do with that. And then there's a really good moment in the issue 2 with between Kyle's daughter and his wife, where the wife says, you know, tell me exactly what Daddy did to you. And she says, Daddy didn't do anything to me. It's you, but I forgive you. And then, you know, that's the realization of the wife saying, oh man, I did do this. Kyle is telling the truth. So there's a lot of great emotional scenes here with all of the characters, and that's what I like, but also progresses the main plot with the Devil character of trying to take away the Outcast. And I think it's going to be more now that Kyle has been kidnapped in the end, that the other characters, the supporting characters we have built, are going to have to do something with these events. So I gave Outcast issue 18, I've been between 4.5 and 4, but I'm going to give this issue 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and it was a very good read. So 4.5 stars for really good emotional stuff in this issue. Alright, so moving on to number 2, which is Ms. Marvel, issue 6. I am so glad that Ms. Marvel is kind of back on track. It feels like a while since I read issue 5, but what I love about Ms. Marvel and her character is the times where you can have family relationships, fun, superhero action, friendship relationships all wrapped into one. And a lot of the series, you know, where I feel like it lost this place where it's just focusing on the superhero. But it was on purpose, because it was showing that Ms. Marvel couldn't really balance her life. And here it's her figuring out what's important and being able to say, I need help. Because in this issue, she realizes I can't defeat myself. And there's a lot of funny moments of, you know, Bruno trying to make a dinosaur defeat everything, and everything's going wrong. And I love the artwork for the series, where we just see these big Kamalas. It's so cute. Like, look at this. And it says, easy peasy. I love it. I think the big Kamala, the Kamala buddies, is just amazing as a villain for this issue, and literally defeating yourself is an amazing premise, the way they do it. But yeah, this issue, and also going back to the artwork, I like that's the style that we originally had with Ms. Marvel, but also the kind of that cartoonier style. It's like a mesh of both, which again is amazing. But with this issue, it's Ms. Marvel trying to get help, and she has the little pendant that Captain Marvel gave her, and we see Carol come to the rescue, and Carol obviously defeats all these things really easily, and Carol's like, you really got yourself into a mess, and Kamala's like, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. And then Carol's like, you really could have asked me for help. I'm glad you did. And then just like, I understand you're part of the Avengers, and you're seeing the heat between Iron Man and Carol pre-Civil War II happening here, where she says to Iron Man, let her have a break, blah, blah, blah. But then Iron Man really has some really good words of wisdom to tell Kamala, too, saying, hey, you're an Avenger, but let us know, we could help out, we could help you. And he gives, like, a little hug, a little supportive hug, which I really like there. And then it's Kamala realizing where she has to be, which is at her brother's wedding. And that's the end of the arc. But then it says the end. I'm hoping it's like the end of the series, because that would be weird, because this book is amazing, and we all love Kamala, but I have a feeling it was just the end of the arc. But we'll see. It's probably just because of whatever is going to happen with Civil War II. And they didn't have a letters page, which just made it weird. But I love this issue. I thought it was amazing, and I like that it's about how Kamala can ask for help. Either it's Carol, Iron Man, her family, her friends, even Loki makes an appearance here. I gave it 4.5 stars. This is where I love Miss Marvel, this type of arc, and it really shows the trueness of the character. And I'm excited to see where the character goes with Civil War II and everything happening with Iron Man and Captain Marvel, because I think it is set up a little bit in this issue too. So Miss Marvel gets 4.5 stars. Moving on to number 1, a book that I usually don't get, but totally happy I did, and that is Star-Lord issue 6. As you guys know, I'm a huge Kitty Pryde fan right here. She's my second favorite character ever. And I've been really enjoying this whole Star-Lord Kitty Pryde relationship. At first, when it was first announced, I'm like, no, that's weird. But it works so well. And I think some of my favorite writing from this relationship has been with Sam Humphries, either in the Legendary Star-Lord series or the Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde miniseries. He just writes these characters really well. And here, even though it doesn't really fit continuity with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's still a really cool issue to really explore the breakup between Kitty and Star-Lord, or, Peter, because they're both Star-Lord at this point. And it's that phase where they're not talking to each other, and then Kitty makes that bold move of saying, hey, what's up? And, they forgive each other for a second, and then they start talking to each other, and they realize exactly why they were in a fight. Peter left, Kitty took the identity to help out the team, and Peter doesn't like that idea. Then we have Iron Man, who's actually a Skrull, asks them to come together and, fight, to try to get this element, try to get this thing, go on a mission. And we find out these Skrulls are fighting them, which is actually pretending to be them, their old costumes, old Peter, old Kitty. And it's fighting Peter and Kitty, and it's amazing, their banter with each other. And then, they're defeated by them, and they're captured. And you're like, oh, we've seen this before. But no, we haven't, because they're on a game show with the Collector. It's like, that's an amazing cliffhanger. It's like, I'm your host, the Collector, and together we're going to make broadcast history. So they're going to have to talk out their feelings on national, well, not even national, Galaxy television, I guess we'll call it. Worldly television. I love it. The banter between Kitty and Peter was amazing. The fight between who was Star-Lord was good. And then you have a cliffhanger like that. It's just like, yes, this is exactly what I want from Peter and Kitty. And, it was them expressing their feelings, though. And it felt like a national organic breakup story. Especially a breakup of an important relationship. They were gonna get married. And you're seeing this, these two people that love each other, but might not be right for each other, and we're gonna find out in hopefully the next issue. Now, I will say the artwork at times, the only complaint I really have is that Kitty's neck was a little long in some of the scenes, and she made some weird facial expressions, but it got better towards the end of the issue, where we obviously saw the multiple Kitty Prydes and Peter's in the end. Also really liked how they phased out the Star-Lord mask. In one of the scenes, I love how they both look like Star-Lord. I thought that was an amazing page. So yeah, even Kitty's deforming her mask looked pretty cool. So yeah, artwork was pretty good, besides like those couple of panels with Kitty having kind of longer neck. But I love this issue. I gave it 4.5 stars. If you like this relationship, if you like these two characters, you totally should pick up this book. It was really good, and like I said, Sam Humphries really knows these characters well, and I hope he could write them forever. And I hope that, you know, Kitty could join the Star-Lord book, because I didn't really like the year 1 Star-Lord story, so it's kind of cool that they went back to this. And I could, you know, pick up Star-Lord again. That was my pick of the week. I gave it 4.5 stars. Let me know in the comments below what was your worst pick of the week, what was your, you know, pick of the week, and everything in between. Let me know in the comments below. This is Comic Uno. Of course, I'll have Comic Uno episode next week. I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter, and don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.